When you listen to the top podcasts and you watch other people being interviewed by the pros on TV, they make it look so easy. Trust me, it is not that easy. I used to interview a lot back in my radio days, and it took me a long time to learn the art of interviewing. But don't worry, I got you covered in this video. I'm going to give you 3 tips so you can look like a pro when you're interviewing on your podcast. Hey, it's Jennifer Lee and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to talk about this topic today because it goes back to my roots of a broadcaster. I used to be a radio DJ. I've even been a traffic helicopter reporter. And in the last year, I have started doing podcasts. I'm currently working with the Home Builders Association in Vancouver on their podcast, Measure Twice, Caught Once, with my lovely co-host, Michael Friedman. I also edit their podcast for them. You can check out more information about me on my website, podcastconsulting.ca. But let's get down to this topic. Okay, so like I mentioned, I love this topic because back in the day when I started off as a radio DJ, I worked on a rock station and I had to interview a lot of people. I interviewed quite a few famous bands, pop stars. I've also interviewed local celebrities. I've interviewed a lot of people, but interviewing is not that easy. It took me a long time to grasp the art of interviewing. There are some tips and tricks to it, and I'm going to teach you 3 of them in this video so you sound like an interview pro in your next podcast episode. Tip number 1. Research. So important. You have to be prepared before you interview anyone, because how are you going to have a great interview if you don't know what you're talking about? Trust me, it's not going to happen. Back in my day as a broadcaster, research saved me so many times. Being prepared, I know everyone says be prepared, but no, trust me, when people say be prepared because it helps you. The more you know about your guest, the more comfortable you're going to be in the interview. And if the interview goes off the rails, which sometimes it can happen, you're going to be able to steer that conversation back because you've done your research, and you're going to know so many different points and different avenues you can go down to talk about with your guest if your interview starts going off the rails. And you're always going to have one of those experiences. It happens. Sometimes the guest is not going to give you enough information. Maybe they're not going to be really chatty with you. Maybe there's a topic that they don't really enjoy and you can definitely tell, and they're trying to get out of it. So you're going to want to be able to have a lot of tools in your toolbox to guide the conversation away from any bad spots in your interview. Tip number 2, be unique. So this goes hand in hand with your research. When you're researching, if you're going to be interviewing a prominent guest that maybe gets asked to be on tons of podcasts and TV shows, you're going to want to watch and listen to all those interviews this person does. And you're going to want to listen to how the interviewer is interviewing them and see what types of questions they ask. And if they're asking the same questions all the time, you're not going to want to ask those because that person is probably tired of answering those questions. You want to be unique. You want to create a great conversation that's different from what's out there. You want your listeners to be engaged too. And if this is a person that your listeners follow a lot, they've probably seen all those interviews that have been done. So you don't want to be the same. You want to be unique, and research helps you with this because you can research so many different things about these people if they are a prominent person that has a lot of information about them online, and you're going to be able to find little unique pieces of gold that someone else might have overlooked, and you're going to be able to take those pieces of gold and create a really great conversation. If somebody has maybe never been interviewed before and there's not a lot of information about them, what you can do then is just really research the topic you're talking about, like really research your topic and then find unique things about that topic and really get the person you're interviewing engaged in that topic and just really pull them in. So there's so many ways to do this, and there's not one perfect way to do this. And I could probably do so many more videos on this, but please drop your questions below and ask me anything to do with this interviewing process. Because like I said, I could probably do so many videos on this topic. Tip number 3, listen. biggest mistake a lot of people make when interviewing is not listening. A lot of people will go in with their questions and they will stick to that format. Like, I have to ask this question, then this question, then this question, then this question. No, you don't do that. You want to create a flow with your podcast. So you can have your list of questions, but really listen to your guests. Listen to what they're telling you, because a lot of times they're going to give you breadcrumbs that are going to help you find the questions you need to ask your guest and create a really good conversation. So say if you ask the first question and then they say something really good in the answer that actually pertains to maybe a question that you have on the bottom part of your question list, take that bottom question and ask it now. And you'll see that the flow will start to generate, and you will see the conversation start going in like a really cool direction. And that's something that I have learned and I try to put in practice anytime. And if you watch a really good interviewer, you can tell they're not just reading questions off a list. They're listening to their guest and figuring out how they can take that information and spin it and weave it masterfully into the next question. And then that way it sounds more like a conversation than you interrogating somebody. Unless I guess you're doing like a crime podcast. That's probably not what you're going for. So I would say listen to your guest, because what they're saying is gold. You brought them in as an expert for a reason. So you need to listen to them, and you are going to be able to take what they're saying and create a complete story for your podcasting episode. Like I said before, there are so many different facets to interviewing. I could probably do many videos on this, and I will, because this is a topic that I really enjoy, and it's a topic that's close to my heart. So it is my passion, if you can't tell. But these are the 3 tips that will make you sound like a pro when you interview your guests on your podcast. Okay, before we get out of here, please do the few things you need to do for me. Subscribe to the button below, hit the bell for notifications, and until next time, we'll talk to you soon.